And that was Don't Call Me by Mighloe. And she is right here in the building with me. Ladies and gentlemen, Mighloe.
Hello everyone.
How are you doing today?
I am doing super well.
Amazing. You look really, really cute.
Thank you.
I love that there was an outfit switch. I'm creeping your Instagram. I'm getting ready for the interview today.
Yeah. You always gotta switch it up.
Right? So tell me a little bit about your day before we just get started. Just because I feel like you don't need to rush. We have all day.
Yeah,
I'm so excited that you're here. I actually have been a super big fan of you, so I want to chit chat a little bit. So yeah, what was your day like today?
My day was really, really exciting today because I was on a billboard in Dundas Square.
Okay.
So
round of applause.
Thank you.
This is your first one?
Yeah.
Holy shit, congratulations.
So it was very, very exciting. My sister came down and we hung out and yeah, it was super nice.
So nice, and then now you're here, so thank you for
I'm
coming.
Thank you for having
So
me.
tell me a little bit about this EP that you just dropped, Desperate Times. Just because I know I've been following you and your music for a little bit, for a while now, and you know I played Wednesday, which was a single that you put out in 2020, but this EP is very, very different than the rest of your work. So tell me about that and why. I don't want to say that you rebranded because you did it. It's so authentically you, but it's definitely a different side of you.
Yeah, I think with this project, I was going through a point in my life where I was just trying to like figure out who I am, and I was struggling a lot with finding a sense of home within myself. And so with this album, I was able to kind of like dive into what. Like who I am and all the versions of myself that there are, and so I think it comes across a lot more authentically than a lot of my other stuff. Not to say that my other stuff wasn't authentic, but this was more my search to find myself, and I think that I was able to do that with the creation of this album. Also, it was my coming out, and so you get to hear a little bit of kind of what my love life looks like on a much more honest and real level, and so yeah.
And before we get into that, take me back to the beginning, because I want to know, when did you start singing and when did you start songwriting, and when were you like, you know what, I have this amazing voice and I'm going to use it?
Well, I've been singing my whole life. I know a lot of people say that, but yeah, literally my whole entire life. But I didn't really take it as something that could be like a tangible career until I was in college. I went to school for criminal justice, and I just remember being in class one time and realizing like, okay, this is not for me. Like I want to do something within the arts, and so I dropped out and I went to the studio for the first time. And when I was in the studio for the first time, I just like had an epiphany and just realized like, oh, I really love this, and this is something that I can strive for. And it was something that I wanted to put a lot more energy into. And so when I started to do that, it kind of started unfolding. I got into Remix Project and then some other super dope programs within the city, and so yeah, just
that's so interesting. So the first time you went to the studio, you were actually able to create in the studio.
So it was actually my ex at the time had written a song and had heard my voice, and invited me to do a chorus on the song. It was like a rap song, and so I had written the chorus like 10 minutes before I went into the studio, and then I performed it, and there was a bunch of other people in the studio, and I was very shy at this point in my life. I'm still a little bit shy, but for some reason, I just felt so comfortable in the booth, and like I was able to just kind of like belt out everything I had to say, and then with that feeling of being so comfortable, where I wasn't comfortable a lot of times before, just being around people, I recognized from there like, This is where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah, that's of course, because you know you're saying that you're so shy, or you felt shy, and you're comfortable in the booth, and that's why I'm like, wait, you actually created and you were able to. Just because you know I've been in the studio multiple times, and I am still a nervous wreck.
Yeah.
And it's so funny to see you say that you're shy, and now have this conversation with you in person. And not saying that it comes off, but it does not come off in your performances. Has singing like on the spot ever been something you've been nervous about? Saying that you're shy, or you're like, you know what? No,
I'm still incredibly nervous. Like if you guys were to ask me to sing right now, I'd like pause for like 30 minutes and try to get up the courage to do it. It's still something that's very it's very personal and very emotional for me to do. And so in spaces like this, it's still very scary. But I think when it comes to like on a stage, I can't really see all the faces.
Exactly.
And so I just get into my own zone. And then
did you ever use any of those tricks? Like what did people say? Like envision everyone naked or something like that?
That was definitely not something that worked.
Right? I feel like that would be distracting if I was envisioning everyone naked. I'd be like, oh, there's a lot going on in this.
Yeah, no, I think for me it was more like specifically being on stage, just picking out like a few people to kind of dart back and forth between at the beginning, just to make it look like I'm engaging with the crowd, because I did still have that like
nerves.
Nerves and like kind of wanting to hide myself a little bit still. But I think just over time you just kind of learn yourself, and now that I like know my abilities, I think I'm just more comfortable because of that.
Yeah, and speaking of knowing your abilities, I am very curious to know about your time in the Remix Project.
Yeah.
And I say this because I know a lot of people listening are emerging artists, and the Remix Project is something that is highly praised here in Toronto, and you are someone that I have just known from the Remix Project. I'm like, oh my god, she's probably one of my favorite alumni. Like, I love her music. So yeah, tell me about that, and how did you hear about it, and what gave you the courage to actually apply?
Yeah, so I had just in the beginning of like my starting out into the creative industry, I was surrounding myself with a lot of just like creatives downtown that were into like all different things, and so I had just heard about Remix like through a bunch of people, but not really like, oh, you should do this. It was just like, oh, there's this program that like does amazing things, and so I ended up looking into it, and I just applied, and
did you put together like a portfolio? Did you have to?
No, so I actually didn't. I know for the application you had to send in a couple of songs. And
yes, and I know it probably would change every couple of years too.
For sure. So I did have a couple of songs already out. Those songs are like long gone now. But so I had just sent those in, and my biggest thing with going into Remix was I wanted to break down that like shyness that I had.
Okay. And
I wanted to basically fake it till I make it. And so I went in with like the cutest outfit I could find at the time, which looking back is not that cute. But and I just kind of put on this persona like I'm so confident, you need to have me in this program, and that just worked for me. And yeah, and then throughout the program was absolutely amazing, like all the networking opportunities, all the people in the industry, just in Toronto, that I was able to meet really kind of shaped what I know now about the music industry.
And you've continued those relationships as well. So absolutely. A lot of the people that you've met during that time you still work with today.
So I was lucky enough to meet Gavin, one of the founders of Remix Project, through Remix Project. I made it a point to say hello to him every single time he came through, and now, 3 years later, I'm signed under their label, and so, yeah.
See that? Milo's dropping networking gems. Yeah, no, you really are, and one thing I really, obviously I am biased and say I love this show, I love Northbound, but one thing that I really like about this show is that I get to speak to artists who naturally just drop so many things that are little keys to success that you don't really think about. A big thing for me is that I deal with anxiety, and I'm very shy, and stage fright is one thing to me, but I always hear, fake it till you make it, fake it till you make it.
It's so fast.
Right?
And I didn't believe it until I saw it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, and it's good to see that, it worked out for somebody that I look up to, somebody whose music that I bump on the regular, and now you're here and sitting here.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about this new EP, At Desperate Times, and you said this is a new side, a different side, an authentic version of yourself. And I want to know about the production and how long have you been working on this album?
Yeah, so this album came to be after I met the producers that I work with now, Dean and Late Night Drive.
Okay.
And we just kind of met through a couple of friends and a girl from Pickering, slash
Shout out to
Ajax.
Pickering,
So
slash Ajax.
we just kind of started hanging out.
Okay.
And it started from there, and we were together one day, and I was just kind of like doing some runs on a song, on a beat that they had made, and I wasn't liking what was coming out. It was like this weird, like, I don't like who I am right now, and like whatever is coming out just sounds so strange to me.
Okay.
But a week later, we came back, and I guess my mindset had kind of switched a little bit, and we listened to the song that is now called Desperate Times, and it just like, it was mind-blowing because it was so beautiful, and it was like all these emotions that I didn't even recognize I was having that were just flowing out of me. And so we ended up not editing that song pretty much at all, and we just left it as is, and so that became the base of the project. And then after that, we kind of just kept getting in the studio and like trying different styles of things that kind of matched that vibe, but also were different because I wanted to have the album be kind of like a roller coaster.
Yeah, it's like a
emotions,
story.
the ups, the downs, and the finale and stuff like that. And so, yeah, it started with Desperate Times, which is why we went with that for the album title, because it captured everything that was kind of going through my head at the time, and all of my emotions. And then we put on another song on the album to really tie it into all together, and that one was Cruel, which I had previously written almost 6 years ago now.
Wow.
But they kind of remade the beat with me, and like they were able to understand exactly what I wanted, and so that's how that came to be. And yeah.
I love Cruel. You actually did I want to say, what is the word? Like an instrumental performance
Yes,
in the, I want to say in the woods. I'm not sure.
It was pretty much.
Yeah, no, I love that. That's so interesting to know that it was put out 6 years ago and now it's come to light now. I speak to a lot of artists, and I'm gonna say we, so I'm gonna talk about me too. We sleep on music sometimes, and the right time comes for that song, and I really, really feel like it is the right time for this body of work. Yeah. And one thing that's so interesting, on all of the songs, and especially Cruel, the song almost sounds like I'm listening to all of your secrets.
Yeah.
Like it almost sounds like a song that I shouldn't be listening to just because it's like, oh, like you're being really raw and vulnerable right now. It's one of my favorite songs. You know what? We're going to take a listen to Cruel right here, right now on Key Radio. This is Cruel by Mighloe, and you know what? Bump that shit. Don't go anywhere, because we're going to continue the conversation right after this. And that was Cruel by Mighloe, and she's sitting right in front of me, and that is one of my favorite songs on the album. I'm gonna play my favorite song to end our interview, but before that, I just want to say happy Pride to everybody out there, because it is the month of June, and not something that I haven't really disclosed, I guess, on Northbound, but both me and Mighloe are part of the Alphabet Mafia. And when I say Alphabet Mafia, that is the LGBTQ plus community. So I want to talk about that a little bit, because you said in this album, this was your coming out album. And for a lot of people listening, they're just like, oh, like her coming out album, she just made an album. No, this is a coming out album. It has a different meaning. So tell me about that.
Yeah, so I mean, I've been pretty open in my own smaller community, like with my family and friends and stuff. But I really wanted on this project to again, be that authentic version of myself. And for a long time before this project, I was kind of like switching pronouns just so like, you know, everyone would be comfortable with what I was doing, or I would use you instead of any pronoun just to like kind of keep that part of myself separate. But I really wanted to come out in this one because I can see myself kind of on a trajectory of like going places, and so I really wanted to just do it from jump because I didn't want to be put into any boxes as like an R&B artist, and I also just wanted to have that voice and showcase the people in this community that have something to say, and so it was super important for me to do it on this project because I feel like this is a turning point for me, and it's a point where I get to continue on in this career being my true self. And so I just wanted to, you know, let people know that this is who I am, and
your authentic
if
self.
you don't like it, then you don't like it, and that's fine with me, and I'm okay with that. I'm super good.
No, I actually love that you brought up the part about switching pronouns in songs, because I do that all the time when I'm writing songs. It's actually sometimes discouraging because you know, obviously there are people out there that are homophobic. That's just how the world is, unfortunately. And sometimes when I'm writing songs, I'm like, oh, like I think this is going to be a banger, but I want to use the pronoun she or they or something that's not traditional. And then I think that the only way that the song will pop is if I use he.
Yeah, exactly.
And it just doesn't feel authentic. It really doesn't. And I love that you bring that up just because it's something that hasn't been spoken about on this show. And, you know, I have featured you on my FOMO and Friends playlist, and I call you the queen of the playlist because you are on so many of the tracks are all yours, I mean, most of them. And this playlist is a playlist filled with LGBTQ plus Canadian local artists. And, you know, even putting this playlist together, you realize that there are so many of us, a lot of queer voices, and you don't really know, or it's like this like underlying, you don't really hear about it, or even in interviews I feel like it's like a question you don't really talk about, and we should talk about it because it's like we're proud to be who we are. It's Pride Month, and love is love, honestly, it really is.
Absolutely love,
so take me through Euphoria on the album, because Euphoria to me is actually my favorite song, and this song is very, very like nitty gritty, a little bit darker. And what was the inspiration behind this?
So the inspiration behind this song was actually my girlfriend, and the relationship that we have, where I have finally come to a space where I'm super confident in who I am, in who I love, and I wanted to share that in a way that still reflects the struggle that I had to go through to get there. And so Euphoria kind of speaks of a drunken, drugged out night where I'm finally realizing I'm in a safe space with a person that loves me as equally as I love them, and that and so that was the feeling of Euphoria for me. So it is a dark song, and you can take kind of negative connotations from it, but if you really listen, it's really about me going through that dark place and finding the light at the end of the tunnel, which was
I want to say I say dark and nitty because it's almost a dark and nitty love story. It's a realistic love story. And you know, I have to ask if there's the connection to Euphoria, the show, just because I feel like the song needs to be placed on the TV show. Like it's perfect for it. It just makes so much sense.
It's so funny because I actually just finished watching the show Euphoria right before I wrote it. And so it was absolutely like all that show's vibes, because I felt so connected to that show because it was pretty much my life as
Yeah.
well, and I think a lot of people can connect to it from all the different characters, and so yeah, there was definitely like that kind of that vibe was definitely like the start of that. Yeah, for sure.
Well, besides this, album that I will continue to bump in my regular life, but also here on Northbound, what can we look forward to from you in this next coming year? Do we have any music videos coming out, photo shoots?
Well, in the next coming weeks, actually, there is a full visual for the album. So all 7 songs have a lengthy visual.
Oh, crazy.
Which will be coming out on IGTV.
And her visuals, I must say, are superb. Like photography on point, outfits on point. So you definitely need to tap into that.
Yes. So that will be coming out. And then my goal is to have another single out in the summer. I won't give you too much details, but there's definitely a ton more music coming.
Amazing. Well, I'm excited. I'm going to play my last song. I'm taking ownership of all of your work. I'm going to play Cruel right here on Key Radio to end out our interview. But I just want to say thank you again so much to come by.
Thank you so much.
Just because I know that it's been a super busy day for you, and I wish you so much success. And again, thank you. So this is Cruel by Mighloe right here on Northbound. And I will see you all next week. Make sure you download the Key Radio app. Tell all your friends about Northbound, and also subscribe to us on YouTube. And if you do so, I will shout you out on Northbound. Yep, you heard that right. Subscribe on YouTube and I will give you a shout out.